Just today we will try to share with you some of this research which we have done it for over a couple of years, and at the beginning it was just an idea without just creating some t-shirts for teaching, but later on we implemented the eye tracking technology because just in the School of Psychology, and she's part of her research is using the eye tracking technology to see for the attention. And so we have this idea to just create some innovative learning material which is probably will help or improve the students' memory as well as the it's based on the cognitive learning theory. So the main idea of this project, it was the declining of the basic knowledge. I've invited to do some of these courses for pharmacology for some students who already finished the medical school or these things, and they want to apply for the MRCP's courses or some of the PLAB, for example. And I realized during that sessions, the students are really losing some of the basic knowledge of pharmacology, especially the drug receptors action and all of this, and what the side effects of the drugs, and some of it is which is supposed to be anticipated by the doctors or by the prescribers, because now the nurses and pharmacists are also, and other healthcare providers that they can prescribe. So all of these people, they have to keep a good knowledge of the basic information related to the. So one of the basic information, it is about the autonomic nervous system physiology and pharmacology, which is explained many of the drugs used in the treatment of cardiovascular, respiratory, gastrointestinal, and so on. So it is like a very cool subject in the pharmacology. Anyway, we are using always the PowerPoint presentation, which is like, I think it is the usual way to give our lectures. And this is probably, we are not sure if that one, it is really helpful for the students, and how to create a very good learning material for, even if we are preparing PowerPoint. It was always in my mind how to make a very nice slides that probably will help the students to learn better. So the idea, as I said, it is just declining of the memory. So the initial idea, I thought about keeping the information or retrieval of the information of the knowledge for the students by keeping the eye stimulus or visual stimulus in front of them. Probably that will help them, even they can study outside of the classroom. So this is the initial idea. So when I started doing all of this project, it was really, I have some very tiny grant to do this one. So I decided to do a workshop, and I decided to do this type of the t-shirts. T-shirts which will reflect, or it will show all the basic core concepts in the pharmacology or the autonomic pharmacology, and to share it later. So at the beginning, I designed, I would say it is really lousy gift, because I would say that the students, they don't like it. I don't like it. All the other people, they don't like the design. They don't like the, but the students, they use it during the workshop, and I created some case studies during the workshop, and then they come up with this. So later, after 2 years of this experiment, okay, one of the students in this workshop, she's this one, she's Meral, and she came with an idea. She liked that one in the year one. However, well, now she was in the final year project, and with an idea to make the design of the t-shirts much acceptable and much palatable, I can say. So she came up with this idea, and okay, let's do it again. And then we just find some small grant to do all this printing of this t-shirt, and she designed this t-shirts, and we try to minimize the kind of. So the idea in this project, we thought after doing the workshop, we thought, what will happen? Where is the students are looking actually? We want to know exactly, are they more attracted to the name of the drug, or it is the organ itself, and what is the response? So after the workshop, I asked Jess to continue and do some of eye tracking by in the computer lab. We will see how or where exactly the students they are looking at, and which part it is attracting their attention more. And of course, after this one, we are getting like a good feedback, and with the good analysis of the results, we found there are a good attention to the picture as well as sometimes to the. So then we decided to make another experiment on the next year, and we have to make it. We can create more than one design, and then we would test all of this new design using the eye tracking, and then we will try to create the best relevant of the words as well as the pictures on the diagram or on the t-shirts that probably will provoke much attention, as well as it will be like integrated better in the learning or in the working memory. So this is the how the project is evolved over the years. So it is start without much concept about the learning theory. However, later on, it was developed by, I would say, it is a multimedia concept with retrieval of the information, and then we just include the eye tracking to design or to see which better design it is attracting the students more. So if I'm talking about, which I heard, I think, during the first presenters for that fantastic videos, and they mentioned about the cognitive theory and the multimedia theory. So here it is something similar. However, we are doing the multimedia or applying the concept on the designing of the t-shirts. It's not necessary to be a t-shirt. It can be just poster or something that inside even the classroom, just to attract the attention. And so based on this, the multimedia learning principle, it's the best material or learning design. It's supposed to keep the pictures and words that will like the dual channel of sensory information. And if we are matching the diagram or the illustration with the words correctly, so we are increasing the selections of these in the working memory, and this will be like easy to go to the long-term memory, as well as it will be easily to retrieve all of this back to the working memory. So it will be like more better attention, as well as giving the information better integration of the new knowledge with the previous knowledge in our working memory, that will keep the students much improved on their memory. So this is the idea. So just now, I think it is for you if you want to explain the eye tracking.
Yeah, so as a bit of a kind of sanity check, we wanted to check that the kind of information that would have been kind of covered in a standard kind of PowerPoint, but we wanted to also, you'll get bonus cat right now, is a bit of a sanity check to see that if we have it in a more pictorial image form, would it still grab their attention? Would they be more likely to look at it? Because if that is the case, then we can use it as a kind of effective retrieval tool. So it also fits in with the kind of learning strategy of spaced learning, making it as an available cue. So we wanted to look at kind of which information the students would prefer to look at. And also in the kind of follow-up study, we looked at the link of what they looked at So was it more a preference for a particular image? And then did that improve their performance in a kind of post-test, which Mustafa will talk about? And we looked at different eye tracking measures. So kind of when they first looked at it, they looked longer at the image. In terms of whether it was the image versus the table, they still seemed to prefer to look at it. But the image was designed to still give you the similar information as the table. So we used a Tobii eye tracker, which is actually quite user-friendly compared to other eye trackers out there. So what we created the images and then created areas of interest that we could then extract the information from. So we had the fixation across a peer, the table and the image, give them a chance to look at them. We counterbalance the order of the images. So it was image appearing equally on the left, equally on the right. I have a background in eye tracking, so for me it was fairly easy. For more kind of advanced eye trackers like the iLink, that does take a bit more kind of knowledge to do. Something with using like a Tobii eye tracker is a little bit more user-friendly, and we did it to see if we could really capture, are they paying attention to the diagrams that we've looked at, and comparing kind of their eye movement patterns and their performance on a post-knowledge check. So if people are interested in doing this type of research, reaching out to someone in the psychology department could also be quite helpful, because they might be able to give you some kind of pointers. That we found it was also something fairly short and easy to do, just to simply get them to look at the images and then ask them questions later. Back over to you, Mustafa, for the exciting results.
Okay, so it was like after presenting the paper in one of the conferences, I've been like invited from one medical school. They like the idea and they want us to do like collaborative research. And this is the results today. I'm just talking about this collaboration with other private university also in Malaysia. But most of the students, they are medical students. Of course, they have also the other pharmacy and nursing schools. So which is probably the students will be like more, they would like to wear these t-shirts, because our students sometimes the students from different school, like the business school or the computer science, they are just always asking them, what is this on your t-shirt? And the students, they said, we have to keep explaining everything when we are even in the canteen or we are in different places in the year. So we have to go to other medical school, and we would think about share all of this, and we will try if this is really working or not. And we want to see on the long term how long it can help the memory for this example t-shirt. So our aim, we want to design this the first phase, to design a new learning material on these t-shirts or the concept, and then we will measure the students by different kinds of questions before and after 1 week of exposure, as well as after 1 year of the experiment. So the first thing, what we did here, I think we designed 2 designs. This is the first design, and this is the second one. And then we tested about 48 students who are non-science. They are not studying in medical, or they have no any background in science. They were from the social sciences, and we invite them to be like our volunteers to expose to the eye tracking. And after finishing each 24 students, they will have some questions regarding the memory, 5 questions regarding how they can memorize the word or the diagram or the receptors on the diagram. So we found that design 2, it's associated with better memory from the students. So we thought we will go with this kind of design. We will print it on the t-shirts. So we print the t-shirts and we go for the second phase. We visit this medical school and we give the t-shirts for only year one students. The t-shirts, it's given after the students, they finish all the classes of the autonomy pharmacology and physiology. After finishing all of these lectures, about 3 lectures in year 1, we test them with 15 questions, MCQs. And after finishing this pre-test, we give the year 1 the t-shirts. We have some controls, which are the year 2 MBBS as well as year 2 BPharm, the pharmacy students. Those students, we didn't give them the t-shirts. However, we asked them at the pre-test exactly like the year 1 student. So after a week of the experiment, the t-shirt were by year 1 students, but they are roaming in the campus. Year 2 and the pharmacy and medical students also, they can observe them or they can see them after in the breaks or something like this. So we did the post test again after a week. We did the post test for all the students, year 1 as well as for year 2 pharmacy and medical student. And after 1 year, we just test those students who got the t-shirts. We give them another retention test after 1 year when they are in the second year. Of course, all the teaching during the lecture, it was like the tables as just explained in our first or second experiment. It is just showing the tables and the types of receptors, the name of the drugs, and so on. So this is the total fixation. Do you want to explain this one?
Yes. So we identified different areas of interest, and we would look at, so people would spend more time looking at the image rather than the kind of word. So they were drawn to what the image was showing, and that they spent longer looking at the image. It did vary depending on kind of which kind of organ that we were talking about, whether it was the kind of heart. But you can see from the diagram that they did spend a lot of long time preferring to look at the image. They did also look at the word, so it did mean that they were still taking in both aspects of information, but the preference was for looking at the image because it was designed in a way that it would still portray the kind of key information. So we wanted something attention grabbing, and total fixation duration is a kind of indication on how attention grabbing, but also it shows that they have spent a lot more time processing, looking at the image. So we identified kind of just like a small box, and that's where we took all of the time people have spent looking at it, and it seemed to suggest that longer it was looked at, they also then showed slightly better performance on the memory MCQ. So it was reinforcing their learning. So that it is something that was very quick and easy to implement, and then it did seem to be a useful reinforcement tool.
Thanks. So when we are doing the ANOVA or the repeated measures statistics, I think we can see there are some of course, significant improvement in the memory after the week as well as after 1 year. However, the for application questions, sorry if I'm not mentioned about the 15 questions. We divided the 15 questions into 5 for memory, just only asking about the teachers and the information on the t-shirt. 5 MCQs about application of this, is like cases, how they can apply the knowledge, and 5 questions are not related to the t-shirts at all, but it is related to the material given during the lectures. And then we want just to compare these 3. Okay, so here it is the repeated pages. We can see for the MBBS 1, those who were the t-shirts, and we can see improvement after 1 week, okay, in their scores, and it is after 1 year, it is significant improvement in their memory. Usually, it is according to education theories. We can lose our information after 2 weeks of a lecture. Okay, we can lose like 75 to 80% of the. But here, what we can see, we can improvement on the memory. So for the application question, the measuring application, it is like a case study. You can see there are some improvement at the beginning. However, on the long run, after 1 year, it is like dropped, and the memory, it is, the application question, the performance was marginal improvement as well as marginal reduction or declining of their application. For the questions which is related to the notes that given during the lecture, of course, there is improvement and it's kept. However, it is not significant compared to this one. And probably we attribute this one because they have an exam after the end of the year. So probably that it is much better compared to the application questions here. So when we test the percentage of knowledge, we can say that probably more than 45% it is getting improved after 1 week, and there are about 40% after 1 year of the intervention. So the other thing, we want just to check about the controls, the students who are in the BMS, we test them in the pre-test as well as the post-test. You can see the medical students, the knowledge was a bit, they forgot because it is almost 1 year since they have studied or covered the autonomic pharmacology. So the improvement, they improved a lot when they expose or they just look at the students in year 1 wearing the t-shirt during the break time. So they become like stimulated and talk about it, and probably that will explain the significant improvement. In the pharmacy they study autonomic nervous system at the last semester of year 1. So when we start the year 2, they have a very little improvement. So probably it is not much compared to the medical student. So for the application, I can say there is some drop in the medical student, but it is improved in the pharmacy. For the notes, again, we can see there is some improvement for the students in the MBBS, but also there is no significant difference for the pharmacy student. So based on this, we can say that the eye tracking, it has the potential to be like a useful tool to design a good learning material. And despite there is no differences between the 2 forms that we design or the diagrams that we design, we couldn't see like a very significant difference. However, it was diagram 2 is associated with better memory. That's why we apply it. And of course, the t-shirts design, we think it is improved the information because of the retrieval of the information outside of the class. So the frequent exposure to the visual stimulus again and again, probably that will allow the students to talk about it, as well as that will improve their memory. So I hope that I'm not getting over. So this is some of the t-shirts that probably we designed for the medical students. Here, this is the bladder. This is for the eye. And yeah, this is for the lungs. I think that's all. Thank you.